I know that I'm gonna sound cringe when I say this, but I really didn't want to make this video, and I really hoped that I didn't have to make this video at some point in this channel's life, but unfortunately, here we are. The things that I'm going to be talking about today affected the channel as a whole and the things that I want to create and play. Over the course of the last few weeks, I have been trying to get various different games to run so I can make videos on them for you to enjoy. One of these included Starfield, the newest RPG single-player experience from Bethesda. When the game's system requirements leaked out, or not really leaked, but was rather confirmed for the first time, I became worried because, let's be honest, my computer's not exactly the most powerful thing in the world. And therefore, I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to run Starfield. Do note that when I do read these system requirements from game developers, I never trust the requirements because, let's be honest, most of the general public probably doesn't have a computer that's powerful as what they're requiring. And let's be honest, developers get a bit of a swing since GPU suppliers, processor suppliers, they treat them nice regardless. What happened with Starfield was nothing short of embarrassing. The game ran at roughly 40 FPS at the lowest possible settings. We're talking 1080p low with 50% res scaling. The game looked like a PS2 game, and honestly, I'd rather not play a game that looks like a PS2 game, given especially what Starfield is supposed to represent in the modern scene. Moreover, the game was very strange with its frame rate, and this also ties into the lag segments that I also incurred. Sometimes the game wouldn't lag at all, as you can see in this part of the footage, yet the game still is running at about 40, maybe 50 FPS, but there'd be other times when I would get out into the open and the FPS would just tank down to like 15 to 10 FPS. But once I get somewhere else, the game seems fine, especially in space where it doesn't seem there to be lag at all. Starfield is also just a really poorly optimized title, which not only makes these settings feel like it's just a waste of time, but it also makes this clip all the more funny.
We really do push the technology, so you may need to upgrade your PC for this game.
Additionally, this was the reason why I ended up having to make a schedule change in the days following the release of Starfield on Game Pass. I announced that I was going to have to delay the video indefinitely because my PC, quite frankly, just could not run the game at a comfortable frame rate and graphics quality that I wanted to present to you, the viewers. But because of this, I now had concerns in the lead up to the Crew Motorfest and its free trial through the 14th and 17th of September. I did look up the system requirements just to be safe, and including it, Forza Motorsport, and City Skylines 2, all major titles that are set to come out this holiday, I realized that their system requirements are very similar. And now I began to worry that if I couldn't run Starfield, probably wasn't going to run these games either. And if I could, it would probably be roughly around the same FPS, maybe a bit better graphics quality, given those games are probably actually optimized, but still, I had a lot of worries going into the next game. When the Crew Motorfest did come out, it proved to yield a similar result, yet it still surprised me in a number of ways. Let's be frank though, that the Crew Motorfest is pretty damn optimized compared to Starfield, and the effects are shown in this gameplay footage. What you're looking at right now is the Crew Motorfest running at 1080p medium settings at around 40 to 45 FPS. And while the game generally ran far better than that of Starfield, it still had its issues. Even though the game was running at around 40 FPS most of the time, it was still a very choppy experience when compared to Starfield's 40 FPS in the tutorial areas, which, while it was choppy, it definitely felt more stable. There were minor stutters here and there, and most notably, this was in the early cutscenes of the game's intro. And, unlike Starfield, the Crew Motorfest actually threw a VRAM error, telling me straight up that I had ran out of VRAM. Even though Starfield arguably ran far worse, it didn't throw a VRAM error, whereas Motorfest did. And I feel like that's an important detail to note. I could have made a video on the Crew Motorfest, but its performance left me desiring more. It's just not the greatest player experience from my perspective with the hardware that I have, and I just wanted it to run a little closer to 60 FPS. Settings were fine, 1080p medium and the game looks great, I just wanted higher FPS, that's all I'm asking. And no, turning it down to 1080 low didn't really change that much. I only really gained about 3 to 5 FPS during the benchmark run. So why do I bring this all up at the start of an update video? Well, with both of these games proving that, quite frankly, they cannot run both at the desirable frame rates and a graphical appeal that I want from my content, I decided that I had to pull the plug. and because of this, the entire holiday lineup is being delayed into next year. In its place, some other forms of improvised content will be made, and I'll elaborate on this in just a moment. But before I do, I want to go in depth as to how long it's going to take to have a computer that is capable of running these games reliably to make the videos that I want to present to you. As I mentioned in my last update video, that I finally have a job and I'm pulling in a somewhat reliable source of income, but there are some cracks through the ceiling that I need to address. As of the recording of this video, I don't exactly know what my average pay is. I've only been paid once, and it was only for a single week of work. So, I'll be sure to define this in the next few weeks and let you know what that pay is, in case you want to get an estimated time frame of how long this is going to take for yourself. But note that I don't necessarily keep the entirety of my paycheck. Let's just say, for example, that I make $500 in a single month. My parents, it's a legal obligation. It's not actually legal, but I guess it could be. Legally, I have to give them half of my pay a month, meaning that I don't actually make $500 a month. I actually make more like $250 a month. And I also have to give in stuff here and there, like an additional gas purchase for the gas-guzzling vehicles that we own, as well as minor purchases here and there. So in actuality, even if I was to make, as the example goes, $500 a month, I only actually end up making about $200 of it. Parts for the new PC have generally been picked out already, and I've already factored this, let's just say, hiccup of financials into the mix. What you're looking at right now is effectively a parts list of everything that I'm going to be replacing in the coming months that's coming directly from Amazon. These include a new AMD GPU. In this case, this is just shown as a 7800 XT. I could go for a 6800 XT, but I just want a newer generation card, and more so specifically, after doing some research between the two cards, I confirmed that the 7800 XT generally is better for more gaming-related workloads, and the 6800 XT, while it definitely puts up a fight, it definitely is stronger in some instances in productivity workloads. And considering that all I really do for productivity is edit some videos, maybe use a world painter file here and there for Minecraft stuff whenever I feel like it, I'm gaming most of the time. So I don't need something that's mainly productivity based. That's not to say that the 6800 XT is a productivity or workstation grade GPU, but I'd like something that's faster in the gaming spectrum, and the 7800 XT does that for me. Regardless, I'm still looking at $600 for a GPU, which is kind of nuts in this market, but it's what needs to be done. I'm gonna need a new PC case to put that in, both for the GPU and, well, let's be honest, my front I/O on my case is kind of Shrek because of certain people. I'm also going to need an upgraded power supply to handle it. Currently, I have only a 650 watt unit. I don't really trust it, so I'm probably going to look for something in around the 850 watt region, so I can just have, a power supply that isn't going to explode when I try to go play World of Employee Harassment. And while this isn't necessarily a demand and will probably be purchased later on, an SSD that's bigger than a terabyte for future reasons is going to be helpful. The 500 gig NVMe drive that I have is just simply too small for my liking, and I can only really have 2 games installed on it, as well as all of the other stuff to make my videos possible. Now, let me make this clear that I'll probably have the GPU in my hands before December rolls around. I'm hoping to have the money able to purchase one during Black Friday sales later this year in November. The rest of this, the case and the power supply, and maybe the SSD as well, are probably going to be bought in December and potentially early January. But do note that, this is going to take like 3 or 5, potentially even 6 months to get the channel back to normal operations. And quite frankly, this entire period is completely temporary until I can get the hardware needed to run these games at the graphics and frame rate that I want to present to you, the viewer. And when I do get that hardware, note that the videos will either release in rapid fire within a month or 2, or they're going to go out as originally planned over the course of a 3 to potential 5 month period. Overall, that is the situation. If you want a TLDR of it, pretty much is Starfield and the Crew Motofest couldn't run on my PC, and therefore I realized that if I want to make videos the way I want, I have to upgrade my computer to do it. So I scrapped an entire holiday schedule, I plan to improvise it, and I have to wait about 3, 5, maybe 6 months to get the hardware needed. So let's discuss the new plan for the next couple of months while I figure all this stuff out. I may be walking back on my collab idea that I brought up in the update from August, mostly because I fear that most people just aren't going to like my branding nor my identity of the content that I make. If I reach out to creators simply wanting to do a collab, I'm going to tell them, hey, you need to watch my content first, because I want you to be fully aware of what I do to my videos and how I make them, so that you know that if I make a video with you and I make my own video out of it, you know what to expect out of it. Because I don't want to lure creators in to do collabs and then make them feel like they had, or not had, but like they made a bad decision because my content is very swear heavy and, you know, stuff like that. I'll probably walk back on my collab idea for now, and I'll probably come back to it at a later time. But for right now, this entire situation has just made me very depressed and not really wanting to associate with other creators until I figure this stuff out. So I'll figure it out, and right now I'm just not going to bother with the collab idea because I just have too much going on, and I just don't want to have more stuff getting in the way. I know in my last update video that I mentioned that I wasn't going to be doing WoW videos again after the failure that was the Embers of Neltharion experience in May, but with the schedule change and the fact that I, quite frankly, have to improvise the holiday season, I'm happy to announce that a planned 10.2 video titled The World of Warcraft Guardians of the Dream Experience will release sometime during November or December. Again, I know I said I wasn't making more, but let's be honest, given the current situation, I need something major to release this holiday season, and this is one of those things that can work. I say November or December because as of the recording of this video, no one really knows when the actual release for 10.2 is, but if we're to assume that BlizzCon is, well, that's not to assume, that BlizzCon is in early November, it's probably going to be just after BlizzCon in early November. This period is also going to be for me just trying out some new stuff. Oddball videos that are basically just me trying out some new stuff, throwing stuff at a wall and seeing if it sticks. It's entirely unknown as to what I plan to make for this, so just expect some random crap just thrown out just to see what you guys think of it, but I'll figure that out in time. So to close out this very short update video, to simply put it, this isn't what I was hoping to happen. And it sucks because, let's be honest, I effectively can't make videos on the games that I want to make the most because of the situation. But, as a side effect, at least this will probably permanently solve hardware issues for years to come, so there's that. I want to remind all of you to stay updated through the community tab on YouTube for updates to the progress on the situation and to hear any important news that arises. Yes, I will be updating on my purchases for this hardware through the community tab, so when I buy the GPU, you'll all know that I bought it. And of course, I'm going to be making the best content that I can, even if I'm improvising. Finally, I just want to say thank you guys for sticking with me this year. And while I won't get to end this year the way I intended to, at least I'll be ending it knowing that this channel will have a great start into next year. Anyways, thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this update. It is really important that I get this news out, because if I don't, then you're going to be very concerned as to why I'm just throwing random stuff out. Hopefully I can fix this sooner instead of like 3 to 5 months. Hopefully this is like a 2-month thing, but knowing my luck, I highly doubt it. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.